I want to hear the last, ultimate, most exciting yeah of all time. Yeah! Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Anthony. Let's give him a big round of applause. Anthony came to me a while ago. He was introduced to me by another Greek guy whose surname is impossible to pronounce as well. It was Akis. And yeah, he told me this story about Anthony, and I think it's incredible what he's gone through. I'm not going to spoil anything actually on this one, and he will tell you all himself. Let's give one more round of applause to encourage him, Anthony.
So, hello everybody. I'm hoping I had the right amount of alcohol to be not stressed but also concentrated. So I want to share with you today an idea, and this idea states that talent is dead. And in order to explain this idea even better, I want to also share with you my dream. And my dream is to motivate hundreds of thousands of people all around the world to exercise and develop a positive mindset. So I was so eager to get closer to this dream that I was even willing to amputate my leg to get closer to it. So I've given you like a weird first sentence and an even crazier second sentence, but bear with me, I'm going to do a little rewind in my life to make a little bit of better sense out of these two sentences. And so I was born in North Greece in a really small town, barely a town, actually a big village you could say. And my mother was, still is, Dutch, and my father is Greek. So, you know, I was half and half, but exteriorly I looked like completely Dutch, you know. So I had this color of hair, kind of orange, you know, something between red and blonde. I had a lot of freckles, and I didn't have the ability to tan as most of my Greek friends. So in the summer I would be red, and in the winter I would be pale like a ghost, which pretty much sucked. But anyway, so growing up there was this very popular Greek advertisement which was advertising milk basically, and the protagonist of this advertisement was a little Dutch girl, and the milk was called The Little Dutch Girl, and it had a really stupid song. So it was one of the like top 3 advertisements. Everybody knew the song, would sing it. So I think you can guess what was my nickname growing up. So that pretty much sucked, but you know, kids are assholes all around the world at that age, I guess, right? So you know, I got used to it, and at the age of 13 I joined my hometown's rowing team. So for those who are not familiar with rowing, it's a semi-endurance sport, which basically means you have to be good at everything. You have to have the ability to run fast, to have endurance, to lift weights, to run, to row, of course. And you know, this whole complex sport was the thing that made me fall in love with exercise. You know, it was the thing I was always passionate about, and I still am. And you know, I fell in love with it through rowing. So I became really passionate about rowing. I was the first guy who got to the rowing club, you know, the last guy to leave. I rowed my ass off, and I was doing pretty good in the beginning, you know, age between 13, 15. But at the age of 15, I realized that I'm not, you know, that's the age that boys start to develop a lot, I realized that I'm not getting as tall as my friends, you know. All my friends are like, the rowing guys are really tall, and being tall helps a lot in rowing. You know, it's a benefit, and you know, due to this, even though I was really good, my coaches started paying less attention to me. So they started paying attention more to the more promising guys, the more you know, bigger built guys and stuff like that. So I started to notice that they started neglecting me. I got angry, and you know, I decided I'm going to train harder to prove myself. And I was doing good, you know, in the rowing boat, but my coaches just didn't pay enough attention to me. So besides all that, my closer cycle, family and teachers and stuff like that, also started realizing, you know, I'm really passionate about rowing, but I'm not getting a lot of attention from my coaches. You know, they started pushing more the other athletes. So I'm putting a lot of time in this sport, but I'm not getting a lot of results. I'm neglecting school, and so, you know, my parents started to tell me, like, to give me a negative feedback. You know, not because they're bad, because they thought, you know, I was going to put a lot of effort in something that wouldn't help me in life. So my teachers also started telling me, you know, you have to quit the sport, don't do it. As a result, I got angrier and I trained harder. And, you know, in my mind, I thought I'm going to train like 2 times hard. And if I train 2 times harder than the other guys, I'll get better results. But that's not how the human body works. So I started overtraining myself. I kind of end up burned out. And this gave my coaches the chance to, you know, get me out of the good crews. I didn't compete in the big games, you know, because I was basically not performing good. So, you know, this whole negativity bias around me got to me. And I decided at age 15 to quit rowing, even though it was a sport, you know, I was in love with. I ended up really bitter, and I stopped rowing, and I got admitted in a sports science university. I left my hometown, I went to study, and I was missing a lot the whole competitive thing, you know. I missed a lot competing, I missed a lot being on top of water. You know, I grew up in a very beautiful town with mountains around, a very big lake, and you know, we used to row and snow was around us and stuff like that. It was really beautiful. I missed it a lot. I missed also the competitive theme. So I thought, why not try another sport, water related? And I gave a try to canoe kayak, which is a type of rowing sport, a little bit different, but still it's a rowing sport. So, you know, I found this really good athlete. Actually, he was the best in Greece. This Greek-Russian guy who was really hardcore, and you know, I told him I want to start doing the sport. And you know, being age around 19 and 20, what I was then, is not like a really good age to start a sport and get good at it. You know, you need to get started with the sport at a very early age to get good at it. But you know, for some reason he believed in me, and we decided to train. He decided to train me. We trained really hard, and you know, he was really hardcore. He grew up in Russia, and they used to like train like, you know, in the snow, in the ice. It didn't matter whatever the circumstances were. So he started training me. We did a lot of stuff. For example, in the winter, we would swim 3 kilometers in the morning, which is a lot of swimming for someone who's not a swimmer. And he used to be behind me, and you know, he used to tap my ankles whenever I was going slow, which for him meant always. So whatever I was doing, he was just tapping my feet, go faster, go faster. There were points that I was starting to descend downwards, you know, I wasn't moving forward, and I said, okay, I'm drowning now. But I would reach the other side of the pool, get a little bit out, take a breath, push a little bit and start swimming. He would tap my feet, I would start drowning, I would start swimming. Anyway, we do that in the morning, and you know, the first day we did that, I thought, okay, see you next day? No, tomorrow, this afternoon, 2 hours weightlifting. Holy fuck. We met in the afternoon, we did 2 hours of weight training. So, you know, basically that's what we did for winter practice and a lot of other hard stuff. So to make a long story short, we did a lot of hard training for a year. He decided to compete together with me in a 2-man's boat, you know. in the national Greek championship. We competed together and we got first place, which, you know, for me was amazing. I always wanted a Greek golden medal in the nationals. I finally got it. I'm very excited. I'm very happy. He allows me to start training the junior team after that, which is, you know, a job I love. I'm training this, you know, the little guys, which is very fun and very motivational. I also start working as a trainer in the gym, personal trainer. So, you know, I'm basically doing 2 part-time jobs. I'm studying, supposedly. I wasn't studying that much. Anyway, and I'm also training for next year's championship. So, you know, I'm basically out of my home at 8 in the morning and back at, you know, 8 at night, which is really tough. But I discovered that, you know, if you're doing something you love very much, you discover that you have a lot more energy reserves than you thought you had. So, you know, after my first successful year, I quit my personal trainer job because my boss stopped paying me. So, you know, I needed some extra money. I couldn't find another job related to what I loved, exercise. So I started working as a pizza delivery guy, which paid good, so who cares, I needed the money. And one night, I'm doing my late night shift and I get in a big accident out of nowhere. I have this big crash with a car. I land 25 meters away from the crashing point, so I basically fly for 25 meters and more. I land on the ground and I don't feel any pain, you know, because your body, when it's stressed, it has this whole hormonal response, you know, adrenaline and stuff like that kicking. You don't feel any pain. But I look down and I realize that my leg is kind of broken. My ankle is basically twisted and on top of my knee. So, you know, I'm wearing jeans. I don't know what's happening, you know, but I realized that, you know, even if you're not a guy who wasn't studying anatomy at the same time, you realize this is not a good sign. So, okay, I'd say, fuck, this is not a good sign. My leg is probably broken, I guess. And I just lay back on my back and I wait for the ambulance to come. To make a long story short again, after 6 weeks and 5 surgeries and a lot of, you know, I had like 3 bags of blood hanging next to me and this and that, a lot of pills. Anyway, after 6 weeks, they managed to barely save my leg. They told me, we probably managed to save your leg, but you're going to have to wait for a whole year to rehabilitate it. So, you know, instead of being happy, I didn't know at that point how the story would go on. Instead of being happy, I was really disappointed. You know, I cannot wait for a whole year doing nothing, man. I can't stand barely sitting in a chair for 15 minutes. I have to sit in a chair for a whole year, you know. It really sucked, but anyway, what can you do? So I waited for a year to get better, but I ended up realizing that, you know, I'm not having the progress my doctors hoped for. So in the end of the year, my doctors tell me, things are not going as good as we thought. So you're going to have a new surgery. So we have another surgery. It doesn't work. I've got to tell you that in the first time I got out of the hospital, I had this like huge metallic thing screwed in my leg, interiorly and exteriorly, with pins and this and that. It basically looked like a medieval torturing device, but they told me this is what we do with extreme fractures. So, you know, I realized that it's true. So I had this big thing which, you know, I would walk around and people would look at me like an alien. But in the second surgery, they put in an even bigger device, you know. Holy fuck, I mean, what's the next step? Like, I'm going to have a leg transplantation? So they put an even bigger thing. It doesn't work. They do like experimental stuff. They cut off bones from my hip. They put them in the leg. Anyway, I want to figure out a lot more. And after basically 2.5 years, nothing seems to work. So, you know, I've spent 2.5 years on crutches on a bed, which is really bad for me. I even tried a lot of ways to, you know, get busy, to forget about this. I even tried video games, like my friend over here. I discovered I don't like them. I like looking at other people, you know, playing them, but I don't like playing them. I hate them. So, man, your presentation was really cool. So I try to read books. I can't because I'm really starting to get depressed. And I decide after 2.5 years I'm going to go to the Netherlands and give it a second try over here. My mother is Dutch, so she told me maybe we can give a second try in the Netherlands. We find a really good medical team. To make a long story short, again, after 2 years and 3 other extra surgeries, nothing seems to work. So at this point, I'm in a foreign country. I basically have no friends because I was too depressed to make new friends. I didn't really care. I just wanted to be alone, and no progress. Nothing is working. A year ago, I told my doctors maybe we should amputate. Get a prosthetic leg so I can get on with my life. They said me no. You are making quick decisions. 4 years anyway. So I say, okay, let's wait a little bit more. It's a big decision. But at that point, I have reached like a rock bottom. I was starting to get really. Besides the fact that physically my whole health was fucked up from a lot of pills, surgeries, and this and that. Before I was a guy who was in super shape. Now I look like a guy who never trained, And if you're used to your image that you had a whole lifetime, being fit and that, it doesn't feel good to be out of shape. Besides the physical aspect, I was also in a really bad mental state. I started getting anxiety attacks. I was in my room and out of the blue, my heart started to race. I felt like the room didn't have enough oxygen. I couldn't breathe, so I started getting this little panic attacks, and I feel like it can't get worse than this. So one day I decide, fuck all this. I'm going to my doctors. I tell them, I don't want to live a life on crutches, on canes. I want to be active again. I want to do what I love. I want to exercise. And they tell me that, we were also thinking about telling you that, it's probably the best alternative now. So, I actually stormed in and I told them, if you don't do the surgery, I'm going to find a way to do it myself. I was close to the edge of getting crazy. But anyway, they told me, you are right, we have to do the surgery. So they agree, we agree to have the amputation after 6 months, so I have enough time to be sure about it. And during those 6 months, I decide, my life sucked until now. I don't want it. I've had enough. I'm going to change everything. So I decide until I get to the surgery, I'm going to get back in physical shape. I'm going to fix my mental issues. And, I'm going to be basically completely prepared for this surgery. So I decided to get back into shape. I wanted to train in a gym at first, but it wasn't really practical at the moment because the gym close to my house was not that close. I didn't have a car. I had crutches. I had an above-the-knee leg cast, which is so uncomfortable. I don't know if anybody had one, but you're basically like a robot. You cannot move. You're pushing all the time people around you. Anyway, so I decided to train at home and do some bodyweight stuff and this and that, put my theoretical knowledge from my university into practice. And I start quite simple. I do some basic stuff like pull-ups. I didn't even have a pull-up bar, so the typical Dutch houses have this door frame where you can hang. I did pull-ups on top of that, and I found little ways to every day, work every muscle of my body and stuff like that. So I started getting into shape. I started reading anything I can find on nutrition. I was eating so crappy the last 4 years. So I started improving my nutrition extremely. I started reading a lot, and I also realized I have to find a way to fix my mental issues. I'm really stressed. I have a lot of anxiety. So I didn't want to take antidepressant stuff. I thought I had enough of pills during those 4 years, enough of chemical shit. So I decided, why not start meditation? So I wasn't really open-minded to this. I was more of the, Cartman type of guy from South Park who, considered meditation hippie shit. Anyway, I found this really interesting book and it says, it talks about this monk and this psychologist and how they did MRI scans of his brain and how modern psychology is starting to acknowledge, that meditation can do a lot of good for you. So, what the fuck, I like data, that are, you know, current. So I think why not give it a try. I started for fun, but I get kind of hooked on it. So for 3 weeks I'm meditating hardcore, like 3 hours a day some days. So I just loved it so much, you know, the whole relief it gave me. I was so stressed for 4 years, and not being stressed was an awesome change. So after 3 weeks, I basically become as happy as ever. This depression thing wasn't only an effect from my accident. I was always a depressive guy, you know. I always had a lot of issues with, I just felt really bad for no reason. You know, I would get really depressed, but I had exercise, you know. Whenever I felt depressed, I just run 2 hours in the mountains and it would go away. But now for 4 years, I didn't have a way to deal with it. So, you know, it got a lot worse. So with 3 weeks meditation, I got over a lifetime of depression, which for me is amazing. So, you know, I'm starting to love this whole change I've done in my life. And the surgery day comes and I go through it really smoothly, you know. I don't even get stressed about it, you know. I feel a bit weird about it, but I go through it really smoothly. My nurse is even impressed of how, you know, courageous I am, according to her. So, you know, the surgery goes by really good, and I start rehab, you know. I get my prosthetic leg, I start walking, and I'm basically, you know, getting back on my feet again, to be literally back on my foot again. So, and you know, life starts feeling really good. And during my workouts, the time I was working out, I made some videos. I had some footage of how I started, because I thought, you know, it would be cool if I can get in really good shape and make a before and after video on YouTube, on, you know, on how, you know, I improved and how I looked like crap and I got really fit. So I make this video, I post it on YouTube. I found this really popular guy, fitness American guy, who has this like contest. I send him my video, I win the contest, and he posts my video on his Facebook page. So I get 10,000 views, you know, in the first 3 days, which is like extreme traffic, especially for me. I'm a really introverted person, so I felt really weird, you know. I didn't know if I liked the attention or not. Anyway, so I decide, you know, why not start making a project out of this, you know, make a YouTube channel, make a fitness online project. And the moment I thought of that, a lot of doubt, a lot of low self-confidence, a lot of fear, you know, from my past came into me. And, you know, these demons in my head told me, you know, who are you to like make a project, you know, you're not important, but I got over those fears, you know. I just put them aside and I moved on anyway. And, you know, this whole thing became a project. I made my website, I made my YouTube channel, and a year later today, I have 2,500 subscribers on YouTube. I have almost 200,000 views, and it's a project that's growing bigger every day, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm really happy I decided to start this project. And the reason I'm sharing this story today is not about me, it's about you. I believe that a lot of people today waste their potential, don't follow their passion, you know, because they are haunted by bad past experiences, people who told them you're not special enough to do that. And, you know, the whole way our system is built today, that you have barely enough energy to just sit on your back and watch TV. So I'm making this, I'm sharing my story today because I want to try and convince more people that they have potential, they can get good at their passion, you know, they can master their passion. I'm not saying you can be the best guy in the world, but I'm saying you can get really good at something if you're really passionate about it. And what's holding us back, most people, is the fact that we have misunderstood what is talent and intelligence, you know. Society has taught us in a way that intelligence and talent are things that are basically stuff you're born with, you know. Just as my gamer's friend today story. You know, you heard that he kind of sucked in the beginning, but he put a lot of effort in it. You know, he didn't become the best in the world because he was talented. He became the best in the world because he built strategies and he worked his ass off, you know, even if it's in a digital way, not in a fitness way. But who cares? I just love people who are good at what they do. So, you know, a lot of times we see people that are great at what they do, and, you know, we say, he was born that way. When in fact, these people have been working on their passion, you know, hours in and hours out, maybe even a lifetime. And, you know, after like 20 years or 15 years of hammering on their craft, they can do what they do so smoothly that it appears as talent. And because we're not willing to put the work in it and we're too lazy, we say it's talent, which it's not always the case. So I became really interested in this whole self-development things. You know, I read a lot of books and I realized that the whole DNA thing, you know, that you're born with talent, is basically a really old type of thinking. You know, modern psychology and medicine show us that what can have a huge influence on getting good at what you do are things like learning to manage your emotions, you know, learning to self-motivate yourself through failure, learning to control your impulses, you know, instead of checking your Facebook page every minute, you can learn to control that and go make some work. These are all things, if you learn to manipulate, you can get really good at what you do, you know, what's your passion. So, you know, basically you just have to find something you love a lot, something that's your passion, and if you put a whole shitload of effort in it, you can get really good at it. And that's something I never knew was possible for some reason, because that's the way I was growing up, but I realized it's true. So I just want to share with you 3 little things that I think are extremely important if you're willing to get in this journey of, you know, mastering your craft, mastering what's your passion, whatever it might be. Either, you know, you're a software engineer, you're a painter, it doesn't really matter. It basically is all the same. The first thing you have to do is to find which parts you have to cut off your life to get closer to your dream. So, you know, we all carry a lot of baggage from our past, a lot of low self-esteem, a lot of bad experiences which made us think that we suck at things, mindsets, you know, cultivated through time from my parents, from school, from everybody, and negative habits we do every day for no reason. For me, in order to pursue my dream, I had to cut off all these things plus a leg. So, you know, if I could do it, why not you? That's what I believe. I mean, you know, it is scary. For me, getting in front of a camera and talking from my YouTube channel was probably more scary than cutting off my leg, because I'm an extremely introverted person, you know, but I got good at it. My first video sucked, my second video sucked, my third video sucked. After video 100, I started getting good at it. So why not, you know, forget about those 100 videos that sucked and focus on the present? So, you know, you need to have the athlete's mindset. And what I mean from this is you need to cut off bad habits, you know. You need to live healthy, you need to eat healthy, sleep well, exercise, you know. You don't have to do like weightlifting or whatever. If you just move for 30 minutes a day, it's really good for you. And, you know, if your body is healthy, your mind can work even better. So, to summarize the first tip, you know, you just have to find which things are holding you back from your dream and cut them off. The second thing is to learn to self-motivate yourself through failure. So, you know, for example, when I first started this project, I had no idea about technology like video editing, like websites and this and that. So I would get up every